Hi, I'm Dr. Moria Levy, and I want to speak today about gamification. So, when we speak about or when we say the word gamification, the first thing that crosses our mind are games, and we like games. Why do the people like games? Because of several reasons. First of all, it makes us curious. It enables us to find clues, look for things, think one step further, not only stay in something static that is known on behalf or in advance. It also lets us feel things, experience things, not only be logical, but sense them and feel them as part of going through the activity. We also like games because it sparks our imagination. We like to be imaginative, to maybe have a different role or feel that we're in a different context or forget from reality and go to some other fields. So games have all of these embraced into them. We also like the competition because it drives our adrenaline and it makes us be with a lot of energy. And we like it, and we like the success when we win, when we accomplish what we were looking for. And if it's a competition, we even like the success if we win other people and not only, also when we win ourselves, and of course when we win other people. So these are attributes that are included in games and make us like games. However, gamification and games are not exactly the same thing. And in order to explain it, I'll demonstrate it. So what do we see here? What we see is actually rock appear here, paper or waste. Here, we see all kinds of characters, big dolls. And here we see the child that is putting the paper into the mouth of the doll, and the character is saying, thank you, Ben, thank you, in Dutch. We can see here many different formats. It's characters that we saw big children that are speaking, and now we see babies that are crying. And when these people cry, when these babies cry, and it can be annoying, it's still funnable because what happens when the child comes up with the paper? Lekker is tasty. So we can continue on and see more figures and more dolls, but I think that this is time that we can stop this video and go and speak about the idea itself. Just a minute. Here. So now I can also speak as well. So what we saw here, we saw elements of games, but we didn't see a game because a game has rules. Rules that you have to follow. You have a starting and you have an end. And here's something like a game, but it's not a game. And that's gamification. And now I'll go to the definition of gamification because gamification is the integration of the game-like elements, such as rewards, competition, challenges, into the non-game processes. It makes us sense and makes us feel good. And the idea is to engage participants, to evoke emotional responses. Remember the feeling, the emotional, the senses, making serious tasks more enjoyable and motivating. So if you want to think about gamification, think about sensing, think about positive. And if you take these elements, you push them into our processes, we have types of gamification. So when we speak about engagement, it's a big word. It's a big term. But I want to break it down into pieces because the advantages are very specific, and there are different types of advantages that we can derive from gamification. One would be to unfreeze. Carter taught us, John Carter, that when you want to make a change, you first have to unfreeze the people. They have a status quo. They don't want to listen to you, maybe. They are too busy. Maybe they are protecting themselves for all the changes that are coming and streaming in and on. So we want to unfreeze to make them listen. I'll give an example in 2 minutes. I'll demonstrate it. The second thing is we want to start with a positive association. Years ago, when I was giving the online, the physical course of knowledge management in universities, I would start the lesson with having 2 students prepare a gamification opening on the topic we were learning that day. It could be lessons learned, it could be portals, internet, knowledge retention. Every time, again and again, 2 students prepared something that had to do with gamification. And what we earned, the advantage was that people laughed, people enjoyed. When I started speaking, people were smiling. So they had positive associations with the topic that we were learning above, and they didn't think it was boring. They didn't think that it was too serious. It started with a good, positive feeling. Another thing is empowering abilities. When we make things easy and we embed them in games, so people have an easier start, and then they believe that they can try it, and then they believe that they can do it, and then they can even do it. I'll show you, I'll demonstrate in a few minutes. It also may help us to run a diagnosis instead of audits and tests. It can help us to drive traffic, and it can help us to deepen, to broaden the participation of people in our activities. So these are specific advantages that all have to do with engagement. I want to show you, to demonstrate a few examples. When I give lectures on change management, sometimes I start with this image. Now let's see what's into it. Here we go. Okay. I hope that you understood the idea, but let's speak about it for a minute too. Because what we're showing here, and what I do after, is I ask people, what's the connection? Why do I start a change management lecture speaking, showing this clip? But the idea here that I make them listen. So first of all, what's the connection? The connection is that if a tree falls in the wood and no one heard it, did it actually fall? And that demonstrates the importance of a change management. But using not only the story, but demonstrating it with something that turns on the curiosity, turns out their listening because of the noise that gets greater and greater, I unfreeze them. So we see here some components that help us unfreeze, and we'll see the gamification components when I continue, but now I showed it to demonstrate the advantage of unfreezing. This is another example showing how to run diagnosis through a gamification method. So for example, you can see, just a minute, bear with me. Every day we have a different picture. I showed you a nice picture, but today we have some other one. And we want to understand, to guess where this is. Maybe these are places that we already taught them. Maybe we want to check their understanding of a neighborhood, or of English, or of the geography, or maybe even of math, because, okay, this is nearly 700 miles from the destination. So let's go to somewhere else and say, oh, this is already more far away. So let's go to the map and see if this is 700 and this is 1200. So maybe it's something in between. Or maybe something, no, maybe it's something that's here on the other direction. And you see, yes, we're getting closer. So we can understand how much people understand by running diagnoses, and if we do it with a gamification process, we do it with people smiling on the way, willing to take part and participate. This is another example that shows us how we can empower their abilities. It also shows another example of running diagnosis. It can be used also for that, but let's see this example and see how it can help us. Just a minute. Here we go. It's a graph plotter. So let's say I am now writing no. Let's write -1 only. Okay, that's what's happening to the graph. Now if I write here y equals x divided by 2. Wow! So it also teaches. It also makes me not being afraid of the math, of the graphs, of the geometry. So this is an example how gamification, and people love the component, and I'm all the time embedding the component idea because we have many components of gamification into the advantages. This example demonstrates how if we play around, we love the activation. Wow, it really works. So let's try it this way. Yes, this also works. People love that to activate, to be active. And people hereby understand that they're not supposed to be afraid of it. So I demonstrated several advantages, all to do with engagement, why gamification benefits us. And I also mentioned while doing so that gamification is not vague. It has several components that can be embedded into the processes. So let's bring some order to this list of components. First of all, it has, as we saw in the definition, game-like elements. We have sometimes really a game. Sometimes we only have motion or voice. Of course, these can be integrated together. Sometimes we have activation, as I showed you with the plotter. Sometimes we want to bring in a challenge, or competition, or a wink. So let me demonstrate some of these. For example, many of you may be aware of the game of Kahoot. And this is a game where we run we can use it for diagnosis, we can use it for competition, but I want to show you some other element here. Look, listen, maybe it's better saying listen to the lobby game. When I'm sitting in the lobby and we are waiting for people to join, we hear this music. The music itself is better than just having a um, quiet lobby. And it also has motion in it. So motion can be without music or with music, and music can be without motion. Anyway, adding music or adding motion into a serious process and also into a game helps us in our gamification. So motion or voice are components of gamification. Let's demonstrate another component. This is a basic one. I don't need any software for it. I can add it on whatever training or lecture I'm giving. And that component is activating the user. People like when we activate them. It engages them. So how do I use this like and dislike? In a simple way, I usually embed it in the most boring sessions. For example, here, when I teach the rules of linguistic rules of what should be written and what should not be written, or we can use it for ethics. And then I give them an example and ask them, is it correct or incorrect? And after they answer, I ask them why and what's the rule behind. And for example, that's a way to teach rules of ethics or of linguistics if you're teaching page auditing or SOPs. And people get activated. Yes, it's wrong, it's correct, what is it? And you can give small prizes and people love it. And what do we have here? We take rules and we turn them into quizzes. And we activate the people so that they have to answer. So if I spoke about quizzes, people love the challenges. And there are many formats for the challenges. We all know about escape rooms. But many times I like to add mini escape rooms. These small challenge riddles. Because they are less consuming. We need less energy, less effort in order to prepare them. And on the other hand, they give us what we look for. So look at this example. It also has rhymes that also adds to the gamification. In this mysterious night, our first riddle hides. Its answer taking flight. Listen to the music. Listen to the challenge. We have here a clue for people who want it. The answer here is an hour, and it's a 3-step challenge in order to find some answer that has to do here with knowledge retention. If you are curious, if you're interested in seeing more details, you are invited to see our website, the Rome website, where we celebrate 25 years of activity, and every second month come up with a challenge that includes 3-step riddles, 3-step quests, quizzes on knowledge management, each making the audience aware that we are celebrating 25 years of activity, each making the audience that is running this quiz, that's trying to perform it, in different aspects of knowledge management, each driving the traffic of people within our website. So look what a wonderful way to use gamification in order to draw awareness, to draw traffic, in order to embed knowledge in their mind as to our abilities. Last but not least, I want to show you something that maybe you didn't understand when I mentioned it, winking. Winking, making us wink, is also a way of gamification. These characters were used in different projects. One on launching a community of practice with some digital elements, and this was a character that went beyond or in between, may I say, in different pages, in different activities, in maybe some user guide. And here we have the same for some search engine that had a name to do with a bug. So here every time on every page we added to decided, we inserted this bug, this cute bug, doing some different sport. One's playing golf, one's playing football, one's on a skateboard. And it makes people, wink for a minute, or we wink with them. So this is another example how to do gamification, even though we're not doing games. Where are we up to now? We spoke about what gamification is. We explained and demonstrated its advantages. And we explained and demonstrated the different typical components that we will find that can be used when we want to apply gamification. However, we have basic tools, but we also can use prepared tools that can help us, software tools that can help us in running some games much easier. Genially, that's our tool that we use, not our tool, that's the tool that we use, for example, for all our challenges and all our escape rooms. Years ago, we already gamifying things for 15 years. And years ago, we would have physical escape rooms that we will bring with us in suitcases to our different workshops and courses. Now we use everything digital, and we don't even do it. I'll say we had 3 stages. First was physical escape rooms, then we moved to digital escape rooms, but that our people wrote with HTML. And now we have all these pre-prepared tools that can help us build so easily, so high level games that it's the escape room that there's no reason to build it any other way. We are masters on knowledge management, remember. We don't want to be masters on coding. Of course, there's Wordwall, which includes dozens of games. It could be find the pairs. It could be crosswords. It could be anything you wish. You can use Wheel of Names. That helps you in lotteries when choosing. You can use many more games, and of course you can go to the basic and build things by yourself with the like and the dislike and other things. It's endless, and every day there are new tools out there that can help us. So gamification is not only important, it's not only helpful, it really is doable. It's not that complicated. So now is the time to do it. Because please, it's important for me to remind you, to remind me, to remind us. Remember, gamification is not just about adding fun. It's about unlocking the potential, driving engagement, and transforming the way we learn, work, and grow. Together, we can harness the power of play to create meaningful changes. Thank you.